Rule number 3, global thinking equals unlimited opportunities. Turn rejection into redirection. The difference between a tourist and a global citizen lies not in the stamps on their passport, but in the depth of their engagement with each place they encounter. Superficial visits, where one snaps photos of landmarks before retreating to familiar food and language bubbles, leave little lasting impact. True transformation happens when you allow a place to seep into your pores, when you surrender to its rhythms until the local marketplace's chaos becomes comprehensible, when the cadence of regional humor starts making you laugh spontaneously. This quality of absorption turns travel from consumption into mutual exchange. You give a place your full presence, and it rewires your understanding of what's possible in return. The business traveler who learns enough Mandarin to charm Shanghai taxi drivers, the student who masters the art of Italian coffee rituals rather than seeking Starbucks, the digital nomad who discovers why Buenos Aires' late-night dinner culture fuels creative energy. These are the people who don't just move through places, but let places move through them. This absorption process follows neurological pathways researchers are only beginning to map. When you deeply immerse in unfamiliar environments, your brain's neuroplasticity mechanisms activate intensely, forming new neural connections at rates far beyond routine experiences. MRI scans show seasoned travelers and expats develop thicker gray matter in regions associated with emotional regulation and complex problem solving. This isn't simply due to exposure to novelty, but to the cognitive demands of continuously decoding subtle cultural, why certain gestures offend here but amuse there, how hierarchy manifests differently across workplaces, when silence means respect versus disagreement. The mind stretched this way doesn't just accumulate facts, it upgrades its entire operating system to handle complexity. Professional advantages of this deep absorption manifest in unexpected ways. Marketers who've truly lived in their target regions catch nuances no focus group reveals. The way Brazilian consumers associate certain colors with prosperity, or why Japanese packaging aesthetics differ fundamentally from French sensibilities. Engineers who've absorbed local work cultures can predict which technologies will gain traction based on societal values invisible to outsiders. Even global policymakers who've experienced places beyond embassy functions develop superior intuition for what solutions might actually take root. Their edge comes from what anthropologists call embodied knowledge, understanding not just intellectually but viscerally why certain approaches flourish in specific contexts. The absorption methodology matters as much as the destination. It means choosing homestays over hotels, public transit over tour buses, neighborhood cafes over international chains. It requires staying put long enough to progress past the initial honeymoon phase of travel into the richer, more challenging period where a place reveals its authentic character. When you start noticing the tensions beneath the surface beauty, the complex trade-offs behind local traditions, the business consultant who spends weekends exploring Mumbai's Dabawala lunch delivery system gains more insight into Indian logistics genius than any textbook case study provides. The artist who learns to distinguish regional Mexican mural styles by spending afternoons in neighborhood plazas develops an eye no art school could teach. Digital tools have transformed absorption possibilities, even for those who can't travel indefinitely. Language apps allow peeling back layers of meaning in local idioms. Podcasts featuring ordinary residents discussing daily life provide unfiltered cultural access. Virtual reality now offers surprisingly effective pre-immersion before physical visits. Yet these technologies work best as bridges rather than replacements, enhancing the depth of eventual in-person experience rather than substituting for it. The executive who uses AI translation to converse with Kyoto craftsmen still needs to share tea with them to grasp the true meaning of omotenashi hospitality. Personal growth through absorption follows its own timeline. Initial disorientation when simple tasks like grocery shopping feel exhausting gradually gives way to comforting routines. Then comes the thrilling phase when you catch yourself thinking in the local language's unique logic, when you anticipate cultural reactions accurately, when your humor lands appropriately. This transition marks the moment a place has truly entered you, altering your perspective permanently. Unlike superficial visits where you leave unchanged except for some photos, deep absorption ensures you depart carrying pieces of each place within you, a mental mosaic of human possibilities that becomes your most valuable professional and personal asset. The most inspiring global citizens treat entire countries as teachers rather than backdrops. They approach each new location with what Zen practitioners call beginner's mind, not assuming their way is superior, but seeking to understand why local approaches evolved as they did. This humble curiosity unlocks insights invisible to those who judge before comprehending. When you truly absorb a place, you don't just collect memories, you gain access to alternative versions of yourself that only specific cultures can reveal. The bold persona that emerges in Buenos Aires, the contemplative self that awakens in Kyoto, the entrepreneurial spirit ignited in Lagos. These facets were always within you, but required the right cultural keys to unlock them. This is the ultimate gift of deep absorption, not just seeing the world, but discovering through it the multitudes you contain. The ultimate competitive advantage in our interconnected age isn't just global competence, it's global comfort. Those rare individuals who can walk into a Tokyo boardroom, a Rio favela community center, or a Berlin tech startup with equal ease don't possess some magical trait. They've cultivated the ability to find belonging anywhere. This chameleon-like adaptability marks a fundamental shift from traditional expat mentality, where one carries their home culture like a bubble, to a more fluid identity that embraces each new context without losing core self. The consultant who shares tea rituals with Emirati clients as naturally as they debate over craft beer with Dutch colleagues. The entrepreneur equally comfortable pitching to Silicon Valley VCs and Shenzhen manufacturers. The artist who draws inspiration from both Nairobi streets and Stockholm studios. These are the people who will shape our collective future because they operate without cultural blinders. Neuroscience reveals this global comfort stems from what researchers call cultural code-switching abilities. The mental flexibility to adjust behaviors, communication styles, and even problem-solving approaches based on context. Brain scans of globally experienced individuals show heightened activity in the anterior cingulate cortex when navigating cultural transitions, indicating these skills can be developed like muscle memory through repeated practice. The implications are profound. Feeling at home everywhere isn't an innate gift, but a learnable skill combining emotional intelligence with cultural fluency. Those who master it don't just tolerate different environments, they extract unique value from each, like human sponges absorbing diverse ways of being. Professional landscapes increasingly reward this rootedness. Multinational corporations now promote executives based on cultural bandwidth, their capacity to lead teams across continents without friction. Venture capitalists prioritize founders who can move seamlessly between the formal hierarchies of Asian business culture and the flat structures of Scandinavian startups. Even in creative fields, the artists resonating globally are those who've internalized multiple aesthetic traditions rather than exporting a single cultural perspective. The common thread, an almost instinctual ability to recognize and mirror the underlying values of any environment while maintaining authentic selfhood. What anthropologists term cultural ambidexterity, this global comfort manifests in subtle but powerful ways. It's the diplomat who knows precisely when to employ Japanese indirectness versus Israeli directness during negotiations, the teacher who adjusts classroom dynamics instinctively when moving from Italian to Korean students, the designer whose work organically blends Moroccan geometric patterns with Japanese minimalism because both feel equally native. These individuals share a superpower, the capacity to make anyone feel understood while never seeming out of place themselves. Their secret lies in viewing cultural differences not as barriers but as tools, each new environment offering fresh lenses through which to view persistent challenges. The developmental journey to this state follows observable phases. Early cultural exposures often produce self-conscious performance, the awkward attempts at local customs that mark the outsider. With experience comes fluid adaptation, the ability to shift behaviors appropriately, though it still requires conscious effort. True mastery arrives when cultural navigation becomes unconscious competence, when knowing whether to present a business card with two hands or one happens as automatically as breathing. This highest level isn't about perfect mimicry, but about developing what sociologists call cultural taste, an intuitive sense for which elements of your identity to emphasize in which context for maximum connection and impact. Digital nomadism and remote work trends are accelerating this evolution. A new generation treats the entire world as their workplace, coding from Bali co-working spaces one month, designing from Lisbon cafes the next. But true global comfort runs deeper than picturesque backdrops. It's the emotional infrastructure to build meaningful relationships anywhere, to interpret unspoken norms quickly, to contribute value across contexts. These individuals don't just work remotely, they belong temporarily but completely wherever they land, leaving each place slightly changed by their presence while carrying its best pieces forward. The personal transformation this enables is perhaps most valuable. People who feel at home everywhere develop what psychologists term self-concept clarity, a strong core identity that actually becomes more defined through cultural contrasts. Like trees growing stronger through wind resistance, their essential self solidifies through constant adaptation. They paradoxically gain deeper understanding of their own culture by viewing it from multiple external vantage points. This breeds a rare combination of confidence and humility, secure enough in themselves to embrace other ways of being without fear of losing themselves. In a world where physical borders still exist but mental ones are dissolving, those who've made themselves citizens of everywhere will shape what comes next. They're the human bridges connecting disparate ideas into innovations, the translators making sure no culture's wisdom gets lost in translation, the living proof that difference need not divide but can instead create new forms of understanding. Their greatest power lies not in any single place they call home, but in their ability to make home wherever the future takes them. Ambition transcends vocabulary. It's the pulse beneath words that resonates across every culture, class, and continent. While accents and syntax differ, the drive to create, build, and push boundaries forms a dialect understood from Silicon Valley to Shenzhen, from Nairobi to Stockholm. The feelings of the simulant's distillate son is not a sacrament. This universal language doesn't require perfect grammar. It communicates through the intensity of one's focus, the resilience after setbacks, and the relentless pursuit of excellence that needs no translation. The entrepreneur pitching in broken English still captivates investors when their vision burns bright enough. The engineer's prototypes speak louder than any technical jargon. The artist's portfolio communicates passion no language barrier can mute. True ambition is articulate even in silence. It's the unspoken energy that makes strangers lean in, collaborators commit, and opportunities materialize. The power of this language lies in its ability to bypass cultural hierarchies and prejudices. In rooms where traditional credentials might be questioned, whether due to age, gender, or nationality, ambition commands immediate respect. Studies of global startups reveal that founders radiating determined vision attract talent and funding faster than those with stronger local connections but weaker drive. This phenomenon explains why immigrants often outcompete native-born professionals in entrepreneurial ventures. Their ambition speaks so loudly that other perceived deficiencies become irrelevant. When every fiber of your being communicates commitment to something greater than yourself, people stop seeing where you're from and start seeing what you're building. Nonverbal cues form ambition's most potent vocabulary. The Japanese concept of haragi, communication through belly energy, captures this perfectly. Investors describe recognizing promising founders by their hunger posture. Seasoned recruiters spot high-potential talent through their solution-ready gaze during interviews. These subtle signals how one leans forward when discussing ideas, the way obstacles trigger creative excitement rather than defeat, transmit ambition more effectively than any resume bullet point. Neuroscience confirms this intuitive reading. Mirror neurons fire when humans encounter genuine passion, creating instant emotional alignment between the ambitious and those who can help them climb. The global business arena has evolved into an ambition meritocracy. Artificial intelligence may soon master every human language, but it cannot replicate the combustible chemistry of human aspiration meeting opportunity. Digital platforms now allow ambition to broadcast itself worldwide. A compelling Kickstarter campaign gains backers across 50 countries, not because the creator speaks all languages, but because their drive communicates universally. Social media algorithms amplify voices, radiating purpose over those with perfect diction. In this new landscape, polished mediocrity loses to imperfect excellence every time, because the world rewards those who make their mission unmistakable, regardless of accent or idiom. This universal dialect follows its own grammar rules. Verbs outweigh nouns. Action always trumps credentials. The present continuous tense dominates. Ambition speaks in doing rather than done. Adverbs of intensity matter more than adjectives of quality. Relentlessly presses more than impressive. Most importantly, it's spoken fluently through resilience. Every comeback after failure conjugates the verb to persist in ways that inspire others. Polyglots of ambition understand that setbacks aren't syntax errors, but emphasis marks, proof that the story being written is worth the struggle. Mastering this language requires authenticity over imitation. Just as regional accents add richness to shared languages, cultural flavors of ambition, Silicon Valley's disruptive zeal, Germany's precision-driven innovation, Nigeria's resilient hustle, blend into a global patois of progress. The key lies in channeling your unique background's strengths rather than mimicking others' patterns. A Mumbai-born founder's ambitious vision will naturally incorporate Jugaad resourcefulness. A Swedish designer's drive might express through sustainable minimalism. These cultural fingerprints don't hinder communication, they enrich the global ambition, dialect with new vocabulary. The most inspiring leaders now use this universal language to build bridges between disparate worlds. They recognize that while cultures debate methods, they unite around aspirations, better lives for children, meaningful work, lasting impact. By articulating visions that resonate at this fundamental level, they assemble coalitions no translator could mediate. Their secret isn't linguistic perfection, but emotional resonance, the ability to make ambition's electricity arc across any divide. In an era where technology keeps advancing, but human connection keeps fraying, those who speak ambition's universal tongue will write tomorrow's headlines in every language simultaneously. In a homogenized world where algorithms reward conformity, your unique cultural fingerprint becomes your most valuable professional asset. That accent you try to minimize, the childhood traditions that shaped your thinking, the perspective you assume everyone shares, these aren't liabilities to overcome, but competitive advantages waiting to be weaponized. Global markets hunger for authentic differentiation, and nothing delivers it more powerfully than the worldview imprinted by your specific journey. The Brazilian professional's natural warmth becomes a negotiation superpower in German deal-making. The Indian engineer's comfort with complexity unlocks solutions that elude linear thinkers. The Nigerian entrepreneur's hustle mentality thrives in volatile markets where others hesitate. Your background isn't just part of your story, it's your unfair advantage in a marketplace drowning in sameness. Neuroscience confirms these differences operate at fundamental cognitive levels. Brain scans reveal that bilingual individuals, they don't just know two languages, they develop enhanced executive control from constantly switching between linguistic frameworks. Those raised navigating multiple cultural contexts show thicker gray matter in areas governing empathy and problem solving. So your otherness has literally rewired your brain to spot connections and opportunities that monocultural thinkers miss. Silicon Valley's most successful venture capitalists now specifically seek founders with immigrant backgrounds. Knowing their lived experience at cultural intersections breeds the pattern recognition needed to build globally relevant products. What you considered your weakness, the extra effort required to decode dominant cultural norms, has become your professional X-ray vision. The economic data proves this advantage. Immigrant-founded startups in the US achieve higher average valuations and create more jobs than their native-born counterparts. Multinational corporations pay 20-40% premiums for executives who can authentically bridge multiple even in creative fields. Artists whose work synthesizes diverse influences command greater attention in oversaturated markets. Your hybrid perspective, where Lagos street smarts meet London business acumen or Tokyo's precision tempers Rio's spontaneity, creates propositions no competitor can replicate. The global marketplace doesn't just tolerate difference anymore, it voraciously consumes and rewards it. This differentiation plays out in subtle but powerful ways. Your unconscious cultural reflexes, whether collective decision-making learned in Seoul or individual initiative honed in Texas, become strategic tools when deployed intentionally. That childhood habit of reading emotional subtext from your Vietnamese grandmother now helps you navigate Berlin boardroom politics. The debate skills sharpened at your Ghanaian uncle's dinner table give you an edge in Parisian client meetings. These aren't just charming anecdotes, they're proprietary methodologies encoded in your nervous system through lived experience. While others study cultural intelligence as theory, you've absorbed it as instinct. The business world's most innovative problem solvers now deliberately construct teams with maximum cognitive diversity. They understand that homogeneous groups arrive at predictable solutions, while teams blending radically different perspectives generate breakthrough ideas. Your presence in these groups with your distinct cultural operating system doesn't just add one more voice, it exponentially increases the combinatorial possibilities. Like a human kaleidoscope, each turn of conversation reveals new patterns when light passes through your unique lens. The questions you ask, the objections you raise, the solutions you propose, all refract through experiences no colleague fully shares, making you irreplaceable. Digital platforms have amplified this advantage globally. Your LinkedIn profile highlighting multilingual abilities attracts international recruiters. Your TikTok sharing Nigerian business hacks gains followers from Mumbai to Mexico City. Suddenly, the very traits that might have marked you as an outsider in local contexts become your global branding. The Nigerian-German accountant offering tax strategy through Afrobeat metaphors, the Korean-Canadian designer fusing hanbok elegance with streetwear. In borderless digital marketplaces, differentiation drives demand, and nothing differentiates like authentic cultural fusion. The most successful professionals now treat their backgrounds as living laboratories rather than biographical footnotes. They consciously mine childhood experiences for professional insights, perhaps applying Middle Eastern souk negotiation tactics to Silicon Valley funding talks, or using Indian jugaad workarounds to solve German engineering challenges. This isn't cultural appropriation, it's cultural alchemy, transforming personal history into professional gold. Your superpower lies not in downplaying your differences, but in refining them into proprietary methodologies no competitor can copy because they haven't lived your story. In an AI-dominated future where technical skills get commoditized, your culturally coded creativity becomes the ultimate career insurance. The human edge no algorithm can replicate. The most formidable professionals operate on an entirely different competitive plane, not by outperforming rivals in narrow categories, but by transcending conventional categories altogether. When you cultivate a truly global perspective, you stop fighting over scraps in crowded local markets and start accessing wide open spaces where few even think to compete. The consultant who blends Scandinavian organizational theory with Japanese quality control and Brazilian team dynamics doesn't just edge out other consultants, they create an entirely new value proposition that makes direct comparison impossible. This cognitive expansion transforms competition from a zero-sum battle into a generative process where your unique combination of influences becomes your unassailable advantage. Neuroscience reveals why this approach succeeds where others plateau. Brain scans of globally experienced individuals show enhanced connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and temporal lobes, the neural infrastructure for synthesizing disparate ideas into novel solutions. While specialists develop deep grooves in specific thinking patterns, those with expansive worldviews build intricate neural webs capable of drawing unexpected connections. Your competition might know more than you about German manufacturing protocols or Indian supply chains, but no one else combines those insights with your particular blend of Singaporean efficiency and Italian design sensibility. This cognitive remixing ability lets you operate in what strategists call blue ocean territory, creating demand rather than fighting over existing markets. The business case for worldview expansion proves compelling. Executives with meaningful experience in 3 or more cultures deliver innovation revenues 30% higher than their locally focused peers, according to McKinsey research. Startups founded by teams blending diverse cultural perspectives secure funding 40% faster than homogeneous groups. Even in creative fields, artisan writers whose work synthesizes multiple traditions achieve greater standout in oversaturated markets. Your competition isn't just other professionals in your field, it's everyone still thinking within conventional boundaries. By consistently importing ideas from unexpected contexts, you ensure your solutions remain several steps ahead of industry norms. This advantage manifests most clearly in problem-solving scenarios. Faced with declining productivity, a monocultural manager might benchmark against local competitors their globally minded counterpart could draw on: Danish workplace happiness research, Japanese Kaizen methods, and Nigerian informal sector hustle culture, creating a hybrid approach that appears revolutionary precisely because its influences are invisible to industry insiders. The wider your cultural lens, the more you recognize that every local best practice is just one option among many worldwide possibilities. And this liberating realization allows you to combine elements in ways that defy conventional industry categories altogether. Digital connectivity has transformed worldview expansion from elite privilege to conscious choice. You no longer need a corporate relocation budget to develop global perspective, just the discipline to curate international news sources, participate in cross-border professional communities, and seek out collaborators from different cultural orbits. The programmer in Warsaw, contributing to open-source projects with Vietnamese and Mexican peers. The marketer in Nairobi running campaigns for Norwegian and Chilean clients. These professionals are voluntarily building the cognitive diversity that once required physical migration. In the attention economy, your worldview is no longer determined by your location, but by where you choose to focus your curiosity. The personal transformation runs deeper than professional advantage. As your mental map incorporates more cultural coordinates, you develop what psychologists call perspective pluralism, the ability to hold multiple conflicting truths simultaneously. This creates extraordinary resilience in volatile markets where you can pivot between cultural playbooks as conditions demand. Where others see disruptive change as threat, you recognize it as familiar terrain, having already navigated similar transitions across different cultural contexts. Your competition isn't just outpaced, they're playing an entirely different, more limited game. The most successful global operators treat cultural boundaries as filters rather than fences, selectively integrating elements that serve their goals while leaving the rest. Like master chefs who know which spice combinations will delight palates across continents, they develop intuition for blending cultural ingredients into irresistible offerings. French luxury principles might elevate a Brazilian beauty brand. Ghanaian informal saving systems could inspire fintech innovation in Tokyo. These practitioners don't just think outside the box, they realize the box itself was an arbitrary construction based on someone else's limited experience. In an era where artificial intelligence masters technical skills with terrifying speed, your culturally nuanced judgment becomes the ultimate moat. Algorithms might replicate your knowledge, but they can't duplicate your unique life trajectory across multiple worlds. The wider you cast your experiential net, the more you ensure that your most valuable professional assets, your instincts, connections, and creative combinations, remain gloriously, irreplaceably human. While others race to the bottom, competing on price and features, you're already designing the next paradigm they'll scramble to imitate. Your competition isn't just smaller, it's perpetually behind, trying to solve yesterday's problems while you're already speaking the language of tomorrow's opportunities.